All right, here's another edition, passing the torch, Manhood series. Today, I know every week I'll be like, I got a special guest, because everybody is special, but today I got a good friend of mine that flew in town from Atlanta, Georgia, just to be on the show today. He's been telling me for months he wanted to be on the show, and how important it is, because this is one of my brothers that, iron sharpen iron. He's part of my village that that I go to for guidance and breaking bread and bouncing things off of this brother's head, and somebody I respect and love like a brother. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce a good friend of mine. We call him Los. His name is Carlos Scott, out of Michigan, but resides in Atlanta. How you doing today, brother?
Hey, man, I'm blessed, man. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come up here, man, and speak on your platform, brother. Yeah, like I said, like you said, iron sharp as iron. You know what I'm saying? We have a small little village down in Atlanta, us up north guys, and we make it do what we do, man. We make it do how we do, when we do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, as we getting started, man, how did we meet, Los? How do we meet? Like, and then what was it about you, or about me, should I say, that allowed us to grow together and become good friends that we are right now?
So we both have a mutual brother. You know what I'm saying? We met through our mutual brother, Clarence Love. I grew up with him, you know what I'm saying? And you all went to college together. And I want to take it back. I want to say we probably ran across in the same circles back in the 90s, and we just didn't even talk with one another.
Well, we shared with some pictures.
Yeah, we shared some pictures. You know what I'm saying?
Back at the bender, boy.
Back at the spaghetti bender. You know what I'm saying? Back when we was, when it was really, we're truly the real definition of being outside.
Yes, sir.
But I believe it was your birthday party.
Okay.
And he called me, was like, hey, man, my man's having a party, man, come through. So, I've always been groomed to never go anywhere empty-handed. And it was your birthday party. It was your 50th. And that's why I started calling you Big 50. I came through, blessed you with a, nice little gift. We had a nice time, man. And, it was just a cadence, man. We just had a good rapport with one another because, even though we're in Atlanta, it's Southern playalistic, and you just had some playeristic. I was like, okay, I like how he moves and he grooves. I what I'm saying? I like how he gets down. I could get down with this guy, and then, it just took off from that. Then we just, the style, you know what I'm saying? We are both connoisseurs of fine colognes, perfumes.
Yes, sir, perfume.
And
yes, sir.
Yeah, the perfumes and and we always support the brother Keith and James, the hats. That's when we really popped it off with those hats.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay, so the show is about manhood.
Right.
So, everybody comes on, they own the show for a reason. Number one, they're a man.
Right.
And number two, I like to hear their manly perspective on their definition of what being a man is. So I want you to first answer your five. Let's just take five.
Okay.
There's 5 things about manhood that helps develop young men into men. What defines a man? What are the 5 things for you that define man and manhood?
Well, one is being vulnerable. Being vulnerable. Nice. 2, having a structure. Security, goals, spirituality.
Okay.
Those are some of the things that to me, in my opinion, that can define you as, evolving into manhood.
So that first one that you said, I like that you said that, because I think it's a great misconception for a lot of men when you said vulnerable. Like, especially most black men are survivors.
Oh yeah.
They either they survive something to be where they're at, or they're surviving. So vulnerability, a lot of times, ain't even an option to them, they think.
Oh yeah.
So it's a misconception that it's okay to be vulnerable. And how does vulnerability help a man be a man?
Well, it helps you be a man because you go, you start off crawling, then you walk, then you run. Our era, we started off running. We missed the crawl and the walk part. So we missed that lane of grooming ourselves to be vulnerable. Because our era, that to my in my liking, our era is the best era. The '90s coming up, '70s, and then we really knocked it off in the '90s. But the vulnerability part is we missed that. So we were really out here lost without that part. And the reason I say that it's a very intricate part is because you're gonna have children. And you have to be vulnerable with your children. I'm a father of two. I have a son, 22. I got a daughter that's 20. And I'm very vulnerable with my son because I wanted to give him the vulnerability that I didn't have.
Right.
Because we talked about it. We talk about it a lot. Yeah. It wasn't instilled into my father. It was a different set of vulnerability as far as love language. Let me say love language.
Love language.
Love language. Love language. Because I had to say that it was a part that I knew that he's going to be somebody's father one day. He's going to be somebody's husband. He's going to be a boyfriend. He's going to be a boyfriend, a husband, then a father. And I wanted to be vulnerable with him to let him know that it's okay for me to say I love you. It's okay for me to hug you. It's for me to show affection in public with him. You know what I'm saying? So that was a big thing for me.
So let me stop you with that. Why do you think that's important for young men or boys to hear that they father or a man, that is concerned about their well-being, to tell them because I'm a victim of that as well. My father, I can recall my father telling me he loved me once in my life, and that was on his deathbed. He was in the hospital. He died of leukemia. And so I never, growing up, I didn't never, I think I yearned for it, but I didn't think that was manly to be telling other men or even desiring someone to say they love me, a man anyway. It was understood from a mother or a woman, but a man. So tell me why you feel like that was important for you, and you get it from your dad and instilling in your children. Your boy.
It's important because as a child and you see your father, your dad is your superhero.
Right. He's
your first superhero before Captain America, Superman, any of the ones we were waking up to watching cartoons with, and you could tell in the neighborhood who was raised off of love and who was told that they were loved and who was raised off survival. But then also you got to take into consideration that what our parents didn't do, our grandparents did. So I heard a lot of love from my grandfathers. You know what I'm saying? My grandfathers, like, I took it to core, like, when they passed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it just came to a day, I'll never forget it, man. It was, I was 18 years old. And me and my dad, we were talking, and I just asked him, I said, hey, man, did I do something to you? He was like, nah, what do you mean? I said, man, why you tell my sisters, man, you love them? You know what I'm saying? I said, I ain't never heard you tell me you love me. So he told me that his father never told him that he loved him. And he wasn't shown that. And so it was just we just had to patch that up. Now, mind you, I'm 18, I'm talking to a grown man, and I was like, well, we got to stop that. I said, because I love you. I'm your only son. I'm your firstborn. And, I didn't take that as like I was getting dissed or whatnot, but I was just more so like, somebody has to break the monotony with it. Because his father told me and my cousins, he told us, I love y'all. But he didn't tell it to his kids, and we took it to core when he passed, my grandfather Donald. And his kids really couldn't feel it. I could tell. This is just me speaking. If my aunts or uncles, if they ever see this, I'm just letting y'all know this is just coming from me. What I seen, that they didn't take it how the grandkids took it, because I guess he poured into us what he should have poured into them.
Correct.
And it was just a cycle that I was seeing, like even with my own kids. Like, my dad is prevalent with my kids, you know what I'm saying? So he's prevalent with the grandkids, so he's doing the same thing. But I said, I'm going to stop that. You know what I'm saying? When I had my son, my daughter, I was just like, yo, I'm not going to have, nobody's better than the other. I treat them both the same, whether girl, boy. If one can't do it, nobody can do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They get the same amount. I give equal love to them. Yeah. Some people say that that's not a thing that you can do, but it is.
It is. I believe so too, man. So with I'm glad the point that you made about how you got to the point where you decided to say something to your dad. And to me, that was one of your first breaking points into manhood, because men say they have the uncomfortable conversation in lives. They don't. So when the Bible talks about man being the head, that doesn't mean boss. It just means it's a certain responsibility, I believe, that rests on a man's chest.
Right.
He's the one that's supposed to have those hard conversations. But what we see is the women doing it. They're easier to go confront or acknowledge things and say things. And the men is kind of just, lay back and receive. So I respect the fact that you understood your assignment. Like, this is my job to break this monotony. This is not healthy. And I need to tell my father. I remember my breaking point with my dad, because my dad was hardcore dude. I mean, no emotions. You don't hug me. You definitely don't kiss me. Like, it was like, my mom used to tell me stories like my dad at 2 years old would have his friends put him down. He a man. So I was not shown no affection by a man. So, because everything was so homophobic. Like, he gonna be soft if he get hugged or kissed or whatever. And it's not, and that's not the case. Right. Homosexuality is a whole nother topic.
Right.
And why I feel that men and women become gay or what have you is a conglomerate of things. But it's not for affection from the same gender. Right. You get affection from a man, too much affection from a man, you become gay, or too much affection from a woman. For a woman, she's gonna be gay. I don't believe that. That's not. Everybody was born for affection and love in a physical way. But mine was, that my dad, my awakening, I like to call it, when I wasn't afraid to step to my dad in respect, was when he was challenging me being saved. I came home, was at my grandmother's house. God rest her soul. I miss her to life. My grandma Trib, my father's mother, was in the basement. My uncle stayed in the basement, and we was down there. All the men would always go to the basement and talk, watch football, whatever. And my dad was like, Larry said he's saved. He ain't saved. He too young to be saved. Then I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Like, so they start asking me all these questions about the Bible and God. And I had to stand up to my father and say, I am saved. I've never stood up to my father a day in my life. And I had to be 26 at the time. And I stood up to him like, nah, you wrong. I'm saved. He's like, saved? So tell me how you saved. So I would call my mom, and I'm tag teaming. We on the phone. I'm trying to answer their question best I can. Not ask my mom. But the fact of the matter is, I stood up to my dad, and it hit him so hard. He never shook that. He got a Bible after that. He started trying to read the Bible to figure out, because he didn't want his son to be led astray. I don't want no pastor out here trying to tell him what's in the Bible, and he started doing it. So he got a Bible so he could try to read it, try to understand it. So if I'm doing something and I claim it's in the Bible, he would understand it. Even though he couldn't,
Right.
But it ended up leading him to church, to a real pastor, and he ended up getting saved. I mean, it's a long story, but my point in saying that is my emancipation, if you will, into manhood was standing up to my dad in a respectful manner. And when a boy becomes a man, it's when he can approach his dad as a man. You approach your dad as a man and said, Dad, we got to stop this. That awakens something in your father. I'm telling you, it awoken something in my dad. And I felt better as a man myself now, because I never looked at myself as a man in front of my dad. I was a boy all the time. That was my awakening. So I appreciate you saying that, because I think that was a key point for the young men that do know their fathers.
Right.
To tap in. Like, when you become a man, becoming a man is being able to say those hard things. You don't have to disrespect your father. There's a lot of young men that are mad because daddy ain't there. Daddy left mama. Daddy never was with mama. Daddy turned his back on them because he couldn't deal with mama, or he was just a rolling stone, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But there's still questions that you have for that man.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, because the thing is, brother, if we gonna continue, are we gonna stay on a hamster wheel with a generation of just lost boys out here? You know what I'm saying? You know, we have a lot of men. I mean, we have a lot of boys in the shell of a man's body out here. Mm-hmm. Same thing with young ladies. We have a lot of girls in the shell of a woman's body. So, you know, that breaking point there, and me till this day, we say, I love you. I just text my dad out the blue, hey, Pops, I'm proud of you. I love you. You know what I'm saying? And then he would always say to me, well, you know, you a better father than me. But I had to tell him, I said, don't ever say that. I said, now keep in mind, let me lay this on the floor. My parents were teenagers. My mother was 16. My father was 18. You don't know who you are at 16 and 18.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. I didn't know, so because, you know, I had to get my feelings out of it, and I had to take a step back and be like, I didn't know who I was at 18. Then fast forward, they get married at 21. You know, that's when my sister came. So I told my dad, let me keep it a buck. I said, I couldn't fathom being 21, sleeping with the same woman, having a mortgage, a business, a car note at 21. Right. But this was the thing to do in the 70s. You know, this was the thing to do in the 70s. You know, get you, you know, marry your high school sweetheart. You know, or, you know, go to college, get a trade. You know, and you're grown.
Right.
So, you know, I had to take 2 steps back and be like, you know, man, I told him, I said, I couldn't have fathomed doing that. I couldn't fathom making love to the same woman at 21.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know who you, and I told him, I said, I forgive you because you only had 2 tools in the toolbox.
Right.
You only had a screwdriver and you had a hammer. And I said, now we got screwdrivers, hammers, drills, saws. You got other tools in the toolbox to try to, you know, move forward.
Absolutely.
So, you know, moving forward, you know, we good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know, and you know how I send out, you know, to our circle of brothers, and I send them all around the country. You know, the spirituals I get from, you know, Pastor out of Detroit, you know, that has a congregation down in Atlanta. You know, Pastor William Murphy. He has a book where I send them out. Then I take my own synopsis of it and I put my own wording behind it when I send them out to everybody. I send them to him, and he'll just call me out the blue and be like, "Man, son, I needed that." You know, you just, you know, and they try to say that I missed my calling. I said, no, you know, my calling is if I talk one or somebody tells me that's all I need.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I have a balance with that.
And that's fact. I'm glad you said that too, because I had a good friend of mine, Walt.
Yeah.
Walt said that to me. He called my mom first, and my mom was like, "What's Walt calling me for?" Like, she was nervous. Like, why? Did something happen to my son? Like, she's like, nah. He just needs to accept his calling. Because he looked at a podcast and heard me. And I said, bruh, you didn't see the podcast? He's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. You need, this is my calling, bruh. I'm spreading the word right now.
Right.
This is my YouTube channel.
Right.
Who said I had to be in a pulpit?
That part.
And that's the thing that people don't understand. Jesus never was in a pulpit.
No.
Ever. He was outside. That when people say, I'm outside, that's how it's outside.
Right.
He was outside giving the word, delivering, healing,
Right.
and doing. And that's what this is.
Right.
If people really take what we're saying, like, we not reinventing the wheel.
No.
These are things that helped us overcome, help us prosper, help us get to where we are in life as older men. So this is a pulpit. This is a stage. And if you don't take it serious, that you have two black men in front of you right now that don't have to be, I ain't getting paid for this. You ain't getting paid for this. You flew into town on your own dime for this.
Absolutely.
Because you cared enough to say, you know what, I got something for these young people. They need to hear. They need to understand and see it from another black man.
Right.
That ain't in dead or in jail. That ain't out here hustling dope.
Right.
Not out here beating this woman.
Right.
That's out here taking care of his kids. That's out here professing the word. That's out here encouraging other brothers. That's important. That's important. And for you to show up, this is your calling. You're on stage now. This is your pulpit. That's your mic.
I mean, that's how I take it, brother. I mean, to be honest with you, for the simple fact that everybody's been telling me, man, you need to podcast, you need to do this. I'm like, but sometimes all right, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever, whatever. Man, people monetize it. I'm like, but everything's not about money with me. Right. You know what I'm saying? When people think about blessings, they think about either material or monetary things. Mm-hmm. I take a look at it as if I'm in the right place in the right time, and this is the right place in the right time. I truly have been, suppressing some of this that needs to be said to our youth as well, because it's funny that we were talking about this. I think one night we was over at the house. We was just over at your house and we was just chopping it up. How young men would more so take the message from somebody else than their parent.
Oh, right.
You know what I'm saying? So like, as an example, my brother, you know what I'm saying, my good brother, I talked to his son, I consider him my nephew. He considers my son his nephew because we brothers, you know. We come to the part that, we're brothers, because back in the day, they used to greet each other, hey, brother, what's happening?
Right.
Brother, you my brother.
Right.
And I would speak with his son. He was like, man, I need you to speak with my son. You know what I'm saying? And I would tell him, I'm like, yeah, I speak with him. So I speak with him, you know what I'm saying? And he'll reach out to me, And it's the same message that his dad is telling him, but it's just being told by another person, really to solidify what his dad is saying. Mm-hmm. Our generation, I went looking for it, like when it comes to this thing that we have in common as far as, staying fly and lifestyle is what I call it. Mm-hmm. My uncle Tony, man, he groomed me something so terrible, man. First bottle of cologne, manicure set, junior high, I ain't look back.
Right.
And I give him his flowers every time I talk to him. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm gonna give you your flowers because when you gone, when everybody up there talk about you, you can't hear it. You can't smell them. So let me give them to you while you here.
Right.
I appreciate what you instilled in me. Man, my uncle he's a hard-working man, took care of his family, man. He just retired. He's living. Him and my aunt, they travel, and he's always been that. And that to me was like, man, I got to have that. Mm-hmm. And so he basically is like, man, I passed the torch to you. He said, I passed the catalog to you, nephew. And he always tell me, man, you doing a fine job, man, And when I hear that, that lets me know that that's what God put that in him to put in me, for me to pass to either my son or my nephews on down the line.
And see, and that's, you're hitting on all cylinders right now, because what I heard since you've been sitting here is 3 men so far in this conversation that has passed you something.
Oh, man.
And how key it's been in who you are as a man. So as leaders, now we considered elders now.
Yeah, absolutely.
As leaders,
absolutely.
It's our job now to do what was done to us, for us, that's helped shape and mold us. Because how many young men don't have that? Or they have it, but it's negatively.
Right. Right.
Like your uncle is on dope or selling dope or beating his girl or, telling you need to sleep with as many women as you possibly can. That's a man.
Right.
So they got that in some shape or form, but it's they running in place. They're going backward.
Right.
So, those things that you taught, that was just grooming. You said, and your grandfather was given the love and direction.
Right.
How you and your father's relationship grew after you stepped to him about, the love piece. Those was key in your development.
Yeah, I mean, and my other grandfather. So we all read the book. I mean, majority of us read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Absolutely.
Book, you know what I'm saying? So I had my mother's father too. He was a pastor. He had me in the church as a young buck. That really gave me the cadence of speaking, not being afraid to speak in front of groups. I'm talking about I was on the usher board. I was junior deacon.
I knew it was something about you, bro. I didn't know this.
I mean,
I didn't know you was a deacon.
I was a junior. Listen, had the elder deacons hating on the junior deacons. I was in the choir, but those things in the 70s and 80s. That's what kept the black community together. You would go to the church. You know what I'm saying? But now, the trajectory had changed when that crack shit hit. That crack shit tore. It tore our community from you coming home to everybody's grass is cut and manicured to now it's just dirt trails going from one house to the next. So he taught me always when I speak, if I spoke in front of a crowd, if I had to do a church play or if I had to get up and during devotion I had to read the scripture, he said, find you a spot on the wall and look at that spot. And just that spot, that's going to be the spot that you look into. He said, and the people are going to think that you're looking at them, and when he passed, I just cried tears of joy because he's in me, not on me.
Absolutely. I see it. I see it. And I knew it. I've never asked you about your affiliation with the church, but I can see it. You know what I'm saying? Because people think it's about this religious behavior, as I like to say, that makes you that Christian. Like you're not a Christian if you curse, or you're not a Christian if you have premarital sex. You're not a Christian if you fall into you drink too much or whatever the case may be. The religiosity factor of a believer.
Right.
And I think that's why the church and how the church have lost so many great men with the day-to-day church and Bible study and choir rehearsal, because they start seeing things that didn't
balance out.
It ain't balancing out. Like, bruh, this ain't, you can't tell me. I remember when I first got saved and I was living the perfect life, I thought. Because it's over 660 something laws in the Bible. Yeah. Like people see the 10 Commandments, but within the 10 Commandments is over 600 and something laws that we break 100 times a day, daily. So you wouldn't made it in the Old Testament if you thought you was living this righteous life. So I know the pastor, what I was learning and stuff, that you're cursed with a curse if you didn't pay your tithes and offering. And I'm like, and it didn't make sense to me. Like, well, if I confess that I love God and I believe in Jesus Christ, death, burial, and resurrection, and now I become a new creature, and now I'm covered in the blood, how can I be cursed and then blessed and then cursed? Like, so if I do something bad, I'm cursed. I just didn't understand. It didn't make sense to me. And then when I'm praying and fasting for something, God to do something, and then I fall short. Like when I first got saved, dude, I was a womanizer. Like I had them on deck. And I got saved, I relinquished that. Like, that's not good.
Right.
I don't want to do that no more. So I really, in my head, thought I would never have sex again until I was married.
Right.
That's what the church had me believing. So, of course, the first girl I dated was my daughter's mom.
Okay.
And I had a baby within me. I think, but I went like 12 months
Gotcha.
celibate. And I met her, we started dating. So within 2 weeks, she was pregnant.
Gotcha.
Like, I had no idea. And I was distraught. Like, oh, I'm not saved no more. But I really love God. I'm like, how's this? How am I now cursed? And it was just started to confuse. And I'm like, but God still blessed me. I still was able to start my business young at 28. You know what I'm saying? I'm on my third Mercedes. Like, I'm thinking, well, how am I cursed? And I had sex with sometimes. I might have sex 10 times in an 8-year period. So from a womanizing guy that might have had 10 with 10 different girls in a week to 10 times in 8 years with one person, like, dude. So, and my pastor was like, bro, you an angel from where you come from, man. Chill out. You bugging.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You bugging. So, one thing my grandmother told me, who was my grandmother Helen, who was married to my grandfather Excel, he was a pastor. She said, you still a man. She said, you a man first, then you part of the cloth. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? She said the ones who act like they the cloth before they a man, she said they got more flaws than anything. You know what I'm saying? We all have flaws. And like one of my favorite songs, man, is this guy, man. These two gentlemen, man, they out of Detroit, man. My guy, G-Rock, Street Lord G-Rock, and Mac Nichols, man. It's called Flaws, man. And they just breaking down, they talking about flaws, man. And we all men, we flaws. We all have shorts. I mean, women have flaws too. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But I feel that you got through it because someone else told you, right? Like I was just saying, somebody else backed you up and was like, hey, man, you better than most. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to understand that you say you went to your pastor, right? Mm-hmm. And you only can imagine who's coming and who's coming and saying what they saying. And he said, man, you man, what? You gonna get your wings. Don't worry about that. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, the thing is, is in manhood, accountability.
Yes, sir.
When you can go back to somebody, or if you walked in a certain light, you've been walking for so long and nobody's told you about your character, and you're one that can accept somebody, you know what I'm saying, telling you, you know what I'm saying, holding you accountable for it. That makes you a better person.
Right.
For you not to be, hypocritical, or just more so, I would say, not even hypocritical, more so just be like, you know what, I appreciate you giving me that game. I needed that. Mm-hmm. Because I've been moving in a light that nobody's ever told me, because it's only been about me, myself, and I. And I feel that men, we're getting better at that. More so like, hey man, that ain't this. You know what I'm saying? Now, it's either you can take it or you want to take it. Usually the ones who don't want to take it, they're still battling what they got to battle with. Mm-hmm. And then, it's either you're going to come or you're not going to come. You're going to come and get left behind.
Right.
And when it comes to that aspect.
So what would you meet a young man, you at the store, man, and he's like, unkept, you know what I mean? Loud, kind of disrespectful. What would be your words of instruction or guidance to this young man? Hold the fuck this, man. You know what I'm saying? All this shit, all the cussing loud and just loud. It's out there, and you see the brother, and you're like, what would be your advice to this young man?
So, matter of fact, let me give you a situation that happened while I was at work.
Okay.
This gentleman, he was 42 years old, never forget it. Talking to my coworker, she's a woman, and he said, man, I'm about to crash out. Man, this ain't, he was, being belligerent to the woman, this, that, third. So I just tapped her. I said, hey, go take you a walk for about 10 or 15 minutes. And I said, hey, man, how you doing, man? You all right? I said, well, let me see what's going on. I said, well, first and foremost, they got you, at somewhere you're not supposed to be. I said, but let's start this off like this, man. You're 42 years old. You talking about you about to crash out. I said, you're 42, man. I said, I'm 50. Listen how you sound, black man. I said, then number one, you're talking to somebody's mother. You're talking to somebody's daughter. somebody's aunt, somebody's sister. I said, would you like somebody to talk to your mother, your sister, your daughter in the way that you just spoke to that woman? You know, it took the conversation from 10 down to 5 because I started off, I'm going to talk with you, not at you.
Right.
So like you said, and he simmered down. And he was like, man, you know what, man, I'm just frustrated. I apologize. And I said, so, you know, when my coworker come back, man, before anything can happen, you got to apologize to this woman, man. You got to. I said, because if you don't, I can't make nothing shake for you, you know. And she came back, you know what I'm saying, hey, man, I apologize, miss. You know, I was out of line. You know, Mr. Scott, you know, he talked to me, and I wouldn't want nobody talking to my mom or my daughter. You know what I'm saying? So you have to put things in perspective.
Right.
You have to put things in perspective because, you know, yeah, this young man is somebody's son. That could be my son. That could be my cousin. That could be my nephew. That could be my brother. You know, you have to put things into perspective. If they don't know, let me show you. Let me show you a way of how to challenge your ego. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us are ego-driven. A lot of us let our egos get the best of us, and the egos got them in the penitentiary. Where I'm from, the biggest penitentiary in the world, Jackson State Penitentiary, down here off of I-94 in Jackson, Michigan. Or right up the road, Milan, Michigan Federal Penitentiary. I got brothers been there, all over. You know,
my brother was in Milan.
You know, so when you know you have those type of you got to take 2 steps back and not lead with emotion. You have to think logical.
So why you think that so many young men are led by emotion?
Because nobody's gave, like when the initial start of this conversation, nobody's did this to them. Let me get up, put my headphones down. Nobody's did this to them. Hey brother, I love you, brother. It's gonna be all right, brother. You know what I'm saying? You know, we going through the same thing.
Right.
I'm the same man as you. I'm black. I'm looking at you. You me. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You know.
And I get it. And with that, also, a lot of the issue is that most of these young men are raised by women.
Yeah. So
and women react to things out of emotion.
Yeah.
So that's all they know.
Right.
Like, I at least had a chance to be around my dad before he passed away. I saw the difference between him and other men. How my dad, he was a hothead, don't get it twisted. But I noticed something about, he didn't react out of emotion around me. Whether he did it, you know, before I heard stories about him doing stuff, whatever. But I remember I would do something, he would be like, I'm going to beat that tail. But I ain't doing it today because I'm too mad. So I'm going to whoop it tomorrow out of principle. Not out of emotion. Now, my mom, she ain't going to whoop me the next day because the emotions is out of it now. She's not mad. So if I could do something to coerce her, you know, she ain't going to whoop me tomorrow. That's just not going to happen.
Right.
But she only whooped me when she was in her feelings.
Right.
She was angry about something.
Right.
I get whooping. And so I learned the difference between man and woman then about, because my dad was telling me, like, dude, if you react out of emotion, bro, you're going to get yourself killed.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them go off of emotion because of that. A lot of them got that Carl Thomas in them, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You first pop off.
Because they don't have I didn't grow up with my father. My father, he lived in Atlanta. He moved to Denver, then he moved to Atlanta in '84, and he's been in Florida about the past 3 years because he retired. But I had my summers, spring breaks, but I had a village. I had my uncles still here in Michigan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I had my uncles, I had my grandfather, you know what I'm saying? My mother's father, he was the disciplinary. You know what I mean? You know, and the thing when I said discipline, he pumped fear into me. He had fear put in me. You know, I'll never forget. I knew how to read. I was an excellent reader because, like I said, I came up in the church. And I was in the 5th grade. Never forget this. I still got the mind of an elephant. Remember the teacher's name and everything. Her name was Miss Drews. And she was like, well, you know, he never wants to participate, but his grades are good, you know. And so, you know, my grandfather came up to the school. So, back in the 80s, if somebody got to leave work, you got to keep in mind, minimum wage was $2.50. They got to leave work. They hot. So he came up to the job. He came up to the school, and Miss Drew's little short statured white woman, and we was out in the hall, and she was like, what's the problem? He said, you know how to read. You're an excellent reader. He was like, nigga, I will kill you. Those were his words in front of this little white woman, and she like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? But then I had to tell him. I said, I don't do it. It's because of fear. I ride the school bus with kids that in my class that can't read at the level that I read at.
Right.
So I don't want to get picked on.
Right.
That I'm better than them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So he was like, well, why don't you have them come over so we could do this? I'm like, man, I watched Good Times back then. This ain't no episode of Good Times. You know what I'm saying? Like we going off of 40-cent reduced lunches, and you got some kids that couldn't even get free lunch. So their stomach is touching their back all day.
Right.
So I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I know how. Yeah. She was like, your scores is great, but, I want you to participate when I call on you. And because, then if I get called on, then the one who wants to cut up is the one who can't read the best. Right. So then he gets thrown in the fire.
Right.
Then I got to ride the school bus with him.
Right.
And in the back of his mind, oh, it's all on. I'm all in. I got embarrassed because of him.
Oh, goody tushy.
Right.
Nigga.
You know what I'm saying? So, I say all that is because, when fear gets pumped into these young guys ain't had no fear by no grown men. Mm-hmm. I had fear pumped into me young.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then, some street guys pumped some fear into me. I never forget it, man. God rest his soul. His name is JT, man. He was a gorilla. He was a gorilla from Detroit. I mean, he was a savage. Good guy, but he was a savage when it came to that street shit. We were playing. He taught me how to do the 3-man weave playing basketball. And I I'll give or take about 11, 12. And he elbowed me so hard, knocked the wind out of me. And we playing on concrete. He said, little nigga, get up. The world gonna hit you harder than I did. So he was such a bully, man. He was from Detroit, came down to Jackson, and he went over to Benton Harbor. And he bullied the wrong guy, and he bullied a scared cat. And the scared cat pulled a pistol out on him and killed him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's how it happened.
That's how it happened.
That's exactly how it happened. So, before we wrap up, man, I just, you came this long way to be a part. So I want you to just, kick some science, man, on, obviously we know what the state of our communities are with our young black boys. But if everybody that turn on a television, every young boy that could turn on a television later on the day, what would it be? What would you want them to hear from you?
What I would like them to hear from that the working man is not a sucker. Okay? A working man is not a sucker. Let me tell y'all that. Whatever camera is hitting me, the working man is not a sucker. I retired at 45 years old from the biggest airline in the country, from Delta Airlines. I retired at 45. You know what I'm saying? And I got benefits that can cater my family for the rest of their life. Okay? And that's all for me working, grinding, putting my mind, saying I want better. I want to do better. Because before I moved to Atlanta, I was hustling. I was back and forth, Lansing, Jackson, Lansing, sometime Detroit, my cousins over there. And I was like, I had enough of this shit. I don't want to go to jail. You know what I'm saying? I'm visiting my cousin. My cousin, he down in the halfway house. I'm visiting him. I'm putting money in my mouth, going to the vending machine, spitting the money into a Dorito bag because it was a little more lax back then, and giving him that so he could put the money in, so we can have some money, whatever he got to do while he on the yard. Cats had a bet that I wasn't gonna move. I had I hit me a little gambling, had sold a little dope too. I had about $1,200. So this is back when you can just walk to the counter and pay for a plane ticket, or you could call the airline, hey man, how much is it, you know what I'm saying, to get me from Detroit down to Atlanta? It was like $100, So it was a store called Montgomery Ward's before they went out of business. I had a little Lovely worked out there at the time. And I told her, man, I need some luggage. She said, man, come on, get it. I got me 2 rollaway bags. These is guys that I hustled with, guys that I had love for. And I still got love for them today because we all evolved as men. You know what I'm saying? We all become productive citizens. They had a bet that I wasn't going to leave. I jumped out that car. I had them 2 rollaway bags. It was like, man, this nigga is gone. This man is leaving. And I left. One way, came back. I was like Gladys Knight. I was on that midnight flight to Georgia, you know? And I just didn't want to die, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, and it was just like, you know what I'm saying? You know, we all have family members that have their struggles when it comes to dealing with drugs. You know, I had, you know, uncles, you know what I'm saying, cousins, things of that nature. But it was just like, this can't be the end all be all. I seen 50 Cent say at one time, the same amount of money that you can make at a job, you making hustling, but your door not getting kicked in. The same amount of, you might be making more money hustling, but you know, after FICA, state, federal, paying yourself and this and that third, that's the same amount of money you could have went to a job and got.
Right.
And you ain't got to worry about nobody shooting you or trying to rob you or going to the penitentiary, you know, you know, things of that nature. You know, so you know, by the grace of God, I'm just so happy that, you know, the guys that I used to send Western Unions to, the guys that I sent letters to, sent pictures of what was going on, the guys that I had care packages waiting on them when they got to the joint, that they all home and they being productive citizens. And the crazy part about it is that they surpassed the ones who never been to the penitentiary. They've been out here just messing over the time because we all got the same 24 hours in a day. And they surpassed, they come out businessman, you know what I'm saying, things of that nature. So, you know, but just let these youngins know, like, getting a job, make that a career, or, you know what I'm saying, getting a trade, going back to the trades, because the trades is where it's at right now.
Trades is
where
man.
it's at. The best trade I learned with my brother, man, and I'm going to send this is my brother Roy, I love you. He showed me how to lay concrete. Mm-hmm. Man, what? He was like, man, you like doing this? I said, man, I love it. Man, I don't like doing this. And he know I'm good with my mouth, so we would go to some sites. Man, go talk to them. I don't want to talk to them. You know, I go talk to the customer, things of that nature. But it's a lucrative trade.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? You know, anything that's in the service industry that you know that AI is not going to take from you. Mm-hmm. You know, in my family, we got a garbage business, you know what I'm saying, here in Michigan, and we got one in Georgia.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And construction. You know, things of that nature. You know, so it's just like, get you a trade. I gave my son an option. I said, because I told him when we went to college, I'm not taking a loan out, brother. This is your life. You know what I'm saying? I said, you got an option to either get you a trade or go to school, come out in debt. You know, my sister, she graduated from Michigan State. She got her master's. I think she told me about 3 years ago, man, you know, she just finished paying off her student debt. She's out of debt. You know what I'm saying? Her and her husband, hey, my nephews, they live a great Huxtable life. I call them the Huxtables. You know what I'm saying? They live great. But, you know, just to hear that 30-something years later that you finally finished paying off your student loans compared to, like I said, when we were talking earlier, you know what I'm saying, about back in the 70s, it's like you know, had you a trade. They had trades. They took the trades out of school. That's where the game got mixed up. So any young man turn on television right now, if you could get in an HVAC, if you could find, if you know, or get with the IBEW as far as electrical work, you know, things like that, get you a trade.
Get you a trade, man. Something that, you know, that they need anyway.
Yeah.
Like even sewing, bro.
Yeah.
You know, people don't sew no more. Like, and my tailor, he make bread.
Yeah.
But I got to take every pair of pants
right
to him to get tailored. But that used to be somewhere you can go anywhere, and it was hard to find him. So you're right, trade's a big thing. That's if you want to be a hustler. Hustling ain't just drugs and pills,
right,
and dope. Hustling is a spirit.
Yeah,
it's just who you are. Get a trade. Hustle your sewing. Hustle your glass block land. My dad did glass block. You hustle doing drywall and drop ceilings. It's so many things that are interesting, and you feel good about yourself at the end of the day because you created something. Like, I didn't get into the craft until maybe 9 years ago.
Right.
And I'm building houses now.
Right.
And I never did none of that stuff. And even though my guidance counselor in high school said you wasn't good enough for college, you need to take a trade, I was offended by that because I know what she meant.
Right.
By saying that. But honestly, it wouldn't have been a bad thing. I'd have been further along in my craft now. But I'm glad I went to college. You know what I mean? I'm glad I went to college. I met people that, were life changers for me. And it helped build my horizons outside of Cincinnati, Ohio.
Right.
It took me to Cleveland. It took me to Kent State. It took me to Detroit, Michigan. I would have never known nothing about Detroit if I had lived in Toledo. Right. So it just broadened my horizons. So I'm glad I went to school. But it was a hustle. True hustle.
Yeah.
So, we're going to wrap up, my brother.
Hey.
It was good. You definitely got to come back.
I'm definitely coming back.
We've been on here almost an hour, and it ain't long enough. Next time we're going to talk about some specific things.
For sure.
But, I'm glad that you took the opportunity to come and sow into somebody. Some young man's going to watch this and click to your story and understand it and grow from it. And I appreciate your time and your effort, man, because, that's what passing the torch is all about.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you passing it to me. Like I said, as long as I reach one, teach one, man, and I'm proud of you for, I'm proud of you. I tell all my brothers, I sent all my brothers today on today's date, which is the 18th of September. If you got a DM from me, I told you, black man, that I'm proud of you.
Yes, sir.
And I'm proud of y'all. And I do that. It's something I do because that's what keeps us going. And I said, pass it along, keep it moving. Tell somebody that you're proud of them. Yeah. It don't hurt to say, man, I'm proud of you. Right. It don't hurt to say, hey, man, how you doing today? Yeah. What's that gonna hurt you? It ain't gonna hurt. Somebody might need to hear that. How you doing today?
That's facts.
You see what I'm saying? Something
you got a handle or something that people that's watching can maybe DM you or something and get a hold of you?
On Instagram, I'm only the numeric number 1 classic. Okay. Only one classic.
Only one classic.
Yeah, I don't do the
Twitter.
Twitter.
And this brother classic. He like the old music and all that stuff.
No, it's just not.
He keep me laughing, man. I love it.
It's not just the music aspect of it. It's just like my thing. Me and my cousin, man. Richard Pretty, Frank Nitty always say we don't drop hits, we drop classics because classics is forever.
Yes, sir. With that being said, we out another edition of Passing the Torch. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank God and God bless.